Thank you so much. Thank you. I am delighted to be here and so happy to see so many people up bright and early in the morning. And thank you for the wonderful invitation to be here. You know, America still is a place of great dreams. And, you know, my dream was medicine, to be a doctor. You know, I skipped right over policeman, fireman, and football player. I went straight to doctor. And I loved anything that had to do with medicine. I loved hearing the mission stories, church and Sabbath school, missionary doctors. And to me, they seemed like the most noble people on the face of the earth, traveling at great personal peril in many cases. I have a friend who's a missionary doctor. He called me a few months ago from Iraq, sort of shaken emotionally, because the village that he frequently went to, and ISIS had killed everybody. And he was devastated. But, you know, they face all kinds of dangers. And I decided when I was 8 years old that I would become a missionary doctor. And that was my dream until I was 13, at which time, having grown up in dire poverty, I decided I'd rather be rich. So at that point, missionary doctor was out and psychiatrist was in. Now, I didn't know any psychiatrists, but on TV they seemed like rich people. They drove Jaguars, lived in mansions, had these big plush offices, and all they had to do is talk to crazy people all day. And it seemed like I was doing that anyway, so I said, this is going to work out extremely well. And, you know, I started reading Psychology Today. I was the local shrink in high school. Everybody brought me their problems. I would sit them down and stroke my chin, say, tell me about your mama. And then I majored in psychology in college. Had luminary professors like Anna Freud, the daughter of Sigmund Freud. You know, I was gung-ho. And when I went off to medical school, I started meeting a bunch of psychiatrists. Need I say more? Just kidding. Some of my best friends are psychiatrists. But what I discovered very quickly is what psychiatrists do in real life and what they do on TV are two completely different things. They're actually some of the more intellectual members of the medical family. But it really wasn't what I wanted to do. And I believe that God gives everybody special gifts and talents. So I just said, Lord, please help me to find the right thing. I started thinking about my gifts and talents, and I realized I had a lot of eye-hand coordination, the ability to think in 3 dimensions. I was a very careful person. I never knocked things over and said, oops, which is a good characteristic for a brain surgeon. And I love to dissect things, so I put all that together, and that's how I decided on neurosurgery. Some people thought that was a strange idea because at that time there had only ever been 8 black neurosurgeons in the world. But you know what I discovered? It doesn't matter what the numbers are if it's something that God wants you to do. That was really the key. I started out as an adult neurosurgeon. But I quickly discovered that no matter how good an operation you did on those chronic back pain patients, they never got any better until they got their settlement. Whereas with kids, you know, what you see is what you get. When they feel good, you know they feel good. When they feel bad, you know they feel bad. And, you know, it's just such a wonderful thing. You can operate on a kid for 12, 15, 18 hours. And if you're successful, the reward may be 50, 60, 70 years of life. Whereas with an old geezer, you spend all that time operating, and they die in 5 years or something else. So I'd like to get a big return on my investment. I'm just kidding, I like old people. I'm one of them. Anyway, but you know, what an amazing privilege it has been over the years to use the gift that God has provided to intervene in the lives of people in order to give them longevity and quality of life. It's one of the greatest privileges I think that anyone could ever have. And people ask me sometimes, don't you miss it? Because I retired in 2013. Well, you know, I still get to see a lot of my patients because I operated on nearly 15,000 people. So there's almost no place I go where there isn't one of the patients or a member of their family. So I get to follow up. A few months ago, I was in Kentucky, and a young man and his family I saw, I had operated on him when he was an infant. And he had just graduated from college, #1 in his class, after having a hemispherectomy, an operation where you take out half the brain. Can you imagine what he could have done with a whole brain? These things are pretty amazing, I must say. But before I go on, I should mention one thing. Everybody gives disclaimers these days. I'm in this corporate board, this association, just so that you know. Well, I have to tell you, I am not politically correct. So it is possible. It is possible that I could say something that someone would take offense to. That would not be my intention by any stretch of the imagination. But you know how people are these days, you know? When I was a kid, they used to teach the kids to sing. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. They don't teach kids that anymore. Now, everybody walks around with this hypersensitivity. And I think we would be very smart to teach our young people not unanimity of speech and unanimity of thought, but rather how to respect someone with whom you disagree. Can you imagine the effect that that could have in our society? It'd be great. And, you know, for years I've had an ongoing battle with the PC police and how they try to intimidate people into silence. Why is that so important to me? Because there were a lot of people who fought, who bled, who died, so that we could have freedom of speech and freedom of expression. And there's no reason to give that up. And it's really all about intimidation. And if you allow yourself to be intimidated, there's almost no end to it. You know, I learned about intimidation as a youngster. I was intimidated by dogs. I was just really afraid of dogs. And, you know, I would be late to school because I'd be almost there and there'd be a dog. And I'd have to go all the way around the block and come back in another direction. And then there'd be another dog. And, you know, the teachers would get tired of